Commander Vex 9 tapped his 4 digits against the polished surface of the observation deck console, his 3 pairs of yellow eyes blinking in sequence as he studied the bizarre creature in the testing chamber below. The human always, the humans, causing problems. Run the statistics by me again, Vex 9 said, irritation clear in his voice. Okay, please, Technician Lore. Try to make sense this time. Technician Lore, a slender Arthaxian with pale blue, perpetually moist skin, nervously adjusted her atmosphere. Regulator. Yes, Commander. The human recruit, Jackson West, has completed all preliminary tests with unprecedented results. Unprecedented, Vex 9 repeated, each syllable dripping with distaste. That word seems to follow these humans wherever they go. Senior biologist Draz, the oldest of the 3 aliens, observing the human, gave a whistling laugh through his nasal cavities. You must admit, Commander, they are fascinating specimens, especially this one. Below, unaware of their conversation, the human male paced the circular chamber. Tall by human standards, though shorter than the average Galactic Alliance species. He had a muscular build, suggesting regular physical conditioning. His medium brown skin contrasted with short, dark curls on his head. Every few seconds, he bounced slightly on his toes, as if testing the gravity. It's fascinating is not the word I would use, Vex 9 muttered. Disruptive, unpredictable, potentially dangerous. The Alliance Council voted unanimously to allow human integration. Politicians, Technician Lore reminded him gently. Vex 9 spat. They see only potential resources, not potential threats. Speaking of potential, Draz interjected. Shall we begin the gravity tests? The human appears ready. X 9 flicked a hand. Dismissively. Proceed. Standard protocol. Begin at 1 point to Earth's gravity and increase incrementally. Technician Lore leaned toward the communication panel. Recruit West. We will now begin gravity testing, starting at 1.2 Earth standard and increasing gradually. Please inform us immediately if you experience discomfort. The human looked up toward the observation window and gave a thumbs up. His voice, with that strange, flat resonance typical of humans, came through the speakers. Ready when you are, Lore. Adjusted the controls, and the gravity field in the chamber increased. Monitoring equipment showed a spike in the human's heart rate and blood pressure, followed by a rapid return to near baseline levels. 1.2 Earth gravity achieved, Lore announced. Subject appears to be adjusting normally. Humph. Vex 9 grunted. Hardly impressive. Most species can handle up to 1.3 without significant strain. Yes, Commander, Lore agreed. But humans evolved on a planet with relatively light gravity compared to most Alliance homeworlds. Even Arthaxians, like myself, come from a world with 1 point for Earth gravity. Move to 1.5, Vex 9 ordered. Below, the human continued moving, now performing stretching exercises. His movements grew slightly more deliberate as the gravity increased, but he showed no distress. 1.5 achieved, Lore reported. Subject's vital signs remain within acceptable parameters. Interesting, Draz murmured, eyes fixed on the biological readings. His muscle fiber response is unusual. He's adapting at the cellular level more quickly than our models predicted. Continue, Vex 9 said, leaning forward slightly, despite himself, as they increased the gravity to 1.7, then 1.8 Earth standard. The human's movements became more labored. Sweat beaded on his forehead and arms, but his expression remained determined. He should be struggling significantly at this point, Draz noted, surprised. Most species without specific gravitational adaptations would be experiencing severe discomfort. Humans, Vex 9 said, as if the word explained everything. Their homeworld's gravity might be light, but they evolved with unusually dense musculature and robust skeletal structures. Warlike tendencies. Okay. The human is requesting to communicate, Lore interrupted. Put him through, Vex 9 said. That's Up there, the human called, his voice strained but cheerful. Wondering, what's the current setting? 1.8, Earth standard gravity, Laura replied. The human grinned. An expression that unnerved Vex 9 with its display of teeth. That all? Come on, I was hoping for a challenge today. Vex 9's eye ridges rose. Is he mocking us? I believe he's employing humor, Draz suggested. Humans often use it during stress situations. Increase 2 to Earth standard, Vex 9 ordered, a hint of challenge in his voice as the gravity intensified. The human's posture changed noticeably, knees bent slightly, back straightened, breathing more measured. He was clearly feeling the strain, but his face showed determination. To Earth's standard gravity achieved, Lore announced. Subject's heart rate elevated, blood pressure increased, but still within safe parameters. I believe this test has served its purpose, Draz said quietly. We've established the human can function in increased gravity environments, suitable for assignments on higher gravity worlds. No, Vex 9 replied, his voice hardening. I want to see his limits. Humans have been nothing but trouble since they joined the Alliance, always pushing boundaries, ignoring protocols. Commander, Laura protested. The testing protocols. I am well aware of the protocols, Vex 9 snapped. This is not merely about testing. This is about understanding a potential threat. Below, the human stopped moving, standing in the center of the chamber, legs spread, arms crossed over his chest. He looked up at the observation window. Hey, is there some kind of problem up there? We still doing this, or what? Vex 9 pressed the communication button. Crew West, we're discussing the appropriate continuation of your test. K, the humans. Lips quirked in a smirk. Well, why are you discussing? How about cranking up the gravity a bit more? This is starting to feel like a light workout. Vex 9 felt a surge of irritation. You are currently experiencing twice the gravity of your home world, human. Perhaps you don't understand the significance of that. The human shrugged, insolent under double gravity. I understand. I'm standing here talking while you guys are having a committee meeting about whether I can handle more. I can, so make it 3. 3. Laura gasped. Commander, no human has ever been tested at 3 times Earth gravity. The medical implications, precisely. What we need to understand, Vex 9 finished. Fixed his gaze on the human below. Very well, Recruit West. You wish to test your limits? So do I. Commander Draz warned, I must formally register my objection. This goes beyond standard testing parameters. Noted, Vex 9 said dismissively. Technician Lore increased gravity to 2.5 Earth standard. Lore hesitated, then reluctantly adjusted the controls. The effect on the human was immediate and dramatic. His body sank lower, posture adjusting to the crushing increase. For a moment, he struggled, his face contorting, vital signs spiking. Heart rate approaching dangerous levels, Draz reported, concern evident. But then, remarkably, the human closed his eyes, took several deep breaths, and slowly straightened his posture. When he opened his eyes, they held a fierce intensity that unsettled even Vex 9. The subject is stabilizing, Laura said, disbelief in her voice. How is this possible? Their species evolved as persistence hunters, Draz muttered. Extraordinary. Cardiovascular recovery capabilities. The human's strained but coherent voice came through. That's more like it. But I said 3. Don't hold back on me now, Commander, Laura pleaded. This is becoming dangerous. The human skeletal structure could collapse under such pressure. Vex 9 waved away her concern. He requested it. Quetting, but increased gradually, 2.7 first. Quetting. As the gravity increased again, the human's legs trembled. He lowered himself to one knee, placing a hand on the floor for support. His breathing grew labored, each breath requiring significant effort. Bone density scan shows stress microfractures beginning to form, Draz reported, voice tight with concern. Commander, we must stop this now. But before Vex 9 could respond, the human laughed a strange, gasping sound. Is this all you've got? He called, each word an effort. My drill sergeant back on Earth would be disappointed. Fascinating, Draz whispered. Even under extreme physical stress, he maintained psychological resistance. Crease to 3 Earth gravity, Vex 9 ordered. Let's give him exactly what he asked for. Both Lore and Draz protested, but Vex 9 insisted. Do it, but be prepared to terminate immediately if his vital signs approach critical levels. Lore, hands trembling, made the final adjustment. The human collapsed to his hands and knees, his body shaking under the crushing pressure. His breathing became shallow. Rapid gasps and monitors showed his heart racing dangerously. He's approaching system failure, Draz warned, his oxygen saturation dropping, blood pressure critically high. Terminate the test, Lore urged. Vex 9 held up a hand, eyes fixed on the human. Wait. Jackson West pressed his forehead to the floor, his body crushed by 3 times his natural gravity. For several seconds, he was motionless, except for the desperate heaving of his chest. Then, impossibly, he began to move, one hand planted firmly, a foot sliding forward. His arms shook violently, muscles straining through his testing suit. With agonizing slowness, he pushed up to a kneeling position. Impossible, Draz breathed. The physiological stress should have rendered him unconscious. The human raised his head, looking at the observation window. His face was contorted, veins bulging, sweat pouring, but his eyes burned with determination, perhaps defiance, or even enjoyment. With a grunt audible through the speakers, he began to stand, each centimeter gained. The human raised his head, looking at the observation window. His face was contorted, veins bulging, sweat pouring, but his eyes burned with determination, perhaps defiance, or even enjoyment. With a grunt audible through the speakers, he began to stand, each centimeter gained at enormous cost. Finally, impossibly, he stood upright in the 3 gravity field and smiled. 3 Earth gravity, he gasped, barely audible. Piece of cake. End test, Vex 9 ordered, his voice a whisper. Return to normal gravity immediately. As the gravity field dissipated, the human staggered, then caught himself. His breathing normalized, and medical monitors showed his vital signs stabilizing rapidly. Get a medical team down there, Draz ordered. No need, the human called, rolling his shoulders. I'm fine. Just give me a minute. Fine, Vex 9 repeated incredulously. You were just subjected to 3 times your natural gravity. A skeletal structure should be showing significant damage. The human grinned, showing teeth. Yeah, well, there's a lot about humans you guys don't know yet. He paused, adding with pride, we're full of surprises. Indeed, Vex 9 murmured, a weariness in his voice. Draz approached, speaking quietly. Okay, this changes everything we thought we knew about human physiological capabilities. If they can adapt this quickly to extreme gravity, what else might they be capable of? Vex 9 felt a chill at the implications. In the chamber, Jackson West stretched his arms, already recovering from an ordeal that would have killed most species. He looked up and gave another thumbs up. So his voice came through, almost casual. What's next? The question hung like a challenge. Vex 9's mandibles flicked in the scowl. Technician Lore, prepare the combat simulation chamber. Senior Biologist Draz, I want a complete biometric analysis of the human before and after this demonstration. Combat simulation, Draz questioned, voice lowered. Commander, after what we've witnessed, perhaps we should allow Recruit West recovery time. You saw what I saw, Vex 9 replied. This human withstood forces that would crush most Alliance species. I want to know what else he's capable of. Technician Lore raised a digit hesitantly. Alliance protocols suggest a minimum 12-hour recovery period after extreme gravity testing. Protocols, Vex-9 spat. Since when have humans concerned themselves with our protocols? No, we continue testing. In the chamber, Jackson West performed stretching exercises, movements fluid, showing little sign of the crushing pressure he'd endured. And Commander Draz tried again. At least allow me to conduct a thorough medical examination first. Vex-9 waved a dismissive hand. Fine, 20 minutes, then we proceed. Jackson West sat on an examination table designed for different anatomy, legs dangling, looking vaguely ridiculous. Biologist Draz ran scanning devices over him. Remarkable, Draz muttered. Simply remarkable. Thanks, I think, Jackson replied with a grin. Mind telling me what's so remarkable, besides my charming personality? Draz blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. A gesture of surprise. Draz blinked all 4 eyes in sequence. A gesture indicating mild confusion. Your skeletal structure should show significant microfractures after exposure to triple Earth gravity. Instead, I'm seeing evidence of strengthening. Jackson shrugged. We adapt. It's kind of our thing. Adapt, Draz repeated slowly. Within minutes. That defies biological principles. Look, Doc, can I call you Doc? Humans come from a planet where everything was trying to kill us for a couple million years. We got good at not dying. Aziz. Breathing sacs expanded slightly, a sign of excitement in his species. But the physiological responses I'm recording there beyond adaptation. Your bones appear to be actively remodeling themselves at an accelerated rate. Your muscle tissue is showing increased density. Even your cardiovascular system has already compensated for the stress. Okay, neat, Jackson said, examining his fingernails with exaggerated nonchalance. So, am I good to go? Your commander seemed pretty eager for round 2. Draz hesitated. Medically, I can find no reason to prohibit continued testing. However, I must advise caution. We still don't understand the long-term effects. Great. Let's do this, Jackson interrupted, hopping up the table with an enthusiasm that made Draz's skin shift slightly in alarm. Commander, Vex-9 watched through the observation window as Jackson West entered the combat simulation chamber, a large circular room with a high ceiling, its walls lined with technological implements designed to create realistic holographic opponents and environments. Explain the parameters again, Vex-9 demanded, not taking his eyes off the human. Lieutenant Craig. The Alliance military advisor who had joined them straightened his armored exoskeleton. Standard multi-environment combat assessment. Commander, begin with basic terrestrial combat scenarios, then move to low gravity, aquatic, and atmospheric variations. Kate and the opponents. Vex-9 asked. Holographic simulations based on known hostile species from unaligned worlds, Craig replied. They will increase in difficulty as the human progresses. Vex-9 considered this, doubled the difficulty scaling. Craig's head spines twitched in surprise. Sir, that would quickly exceed the parameters established for new recruits. Did you not witness the gravity test, Lieutenant? Vex-9 asked coldly. This is no ordinary recruit. Very well, Commander, Craig relented, adjusting the controls. Oh, I must note my reservation in the official record. Noted, Vex-9 said dismissively. Begin the simulation. The chamber's environment shifted, blank walls, dissolving into a rocky, barren landscape. Jackson West stood in the center, now dressed in standard Alliance combat attire, flexible bodysuit designed to adapt to various conditions. Recruit West, Craig announced through the communication system. This exercise will test your combat proficiency in multiple environments against various opponents. The difficulty will increase progressively. Your objective is simple. Survive. The human rolled his shoulders and bounced lightly on his toes. Sounds fun? Any rules I should know about? The simulation will end if you sustain injuries. That would be fatal in real combat, Craig explained. The holographic opponents cannot cause actual physical harm, but sensors in your suit will register damage. Got it? Fake fighting, real scoring, Jackson said with a nod. Let's rock and roll. 9 leaned toward technician Lore. Rock and roll, human idiom, Lore explained quietly. Okay, it means I don't actually care, Vex 9 interrupted. Lieutenant, commenced the first scenario. In the chamber below, 3 holographic figures materialized, humanoid in shape, but with reptilian features, carrying primitive but effective weapons, a spear, a curved blade, and a projectile launcher. Saurans, Craig explained, pre-spaceflight species known for their aggressive territorial behavior. Jackson assessed his opponents with a quick glance, assumed to combat stance, his casual humor replaced by focused intensity. The simulated Saurans attacked in coordinated fashion, the spear wielder charging directly while the others flanked. Jackson waited until the last moment before moving, his reaction speed catching even Vex 9 by surprise. Pi sidestepped the spear, thrust, grabbed the weapon shaft, and used the attacker's momentum to send the holographic creature tumbling. In the same fluid motion, he swung the captured spear to block the blade wielder's attack. Impressive reaction time, Craig noted, making an entry in his datapad. The skirmish continued for several minutes, the human displaying combat techniques that seemed both instinctive and calculated. He used the environment to his advantage, leaping onto a boulder for higher ground. His movements were economical, precise, and devastatingly effective. When the last simulated opponent fell, Jackson stood in the center, breathing slightly elevated, but otherwise showing no signs of exertion. Basic terrestrial combat assessment complete, Craig announced. Performance rating, exceptional. Thanks, Jackson called up to the observation window. Those guys weren't bad. Little predictable though. Vex 9's mandibles clicked in irritation, increased difficulty by a factor of 4, and changed the environment. The chamber shimmered, the rocky landscape replaced by a dense jungle setting. A gravity dropped to half Earth standard, causing Jackson to momentarily float before adjusting his stance. Low gravity, jungle environment, Craig explained unnecessarily. Opponents will be. He was interrupted by the appearance of 6 new holographic figures, less humanoid, with segmented bodies and multiple limbs ending in sharp, curved appendages. Archneds, Draz identified, his tone concerned. Commander, this is a significant escalation. Okay, most recruits don't face Archnid simulations until advanced training. Most recruits aren't humans who smile at triple gravity. Vex 9 replied flatly. Below, Jackson was already adapting to the low gravity, using short, controlled movements rather than his previous fluid style. The Archnids were fast, capable of leaping great distances in the reduced gravity, but the humans seemed to anticipate their attack patterns. Instead of fighting defensively, Jackson launched himself into the air, using the low gravity to execute a maneuver impossible on Earth. He caught a tree branch, swung around it, and landed directly on an Archned, disabling it instantly. He's playing with the environment, Craig observed, unable to keep admiration from his voice. Most species struggle with gravity transitions. He's exploiting it. The combat continued, Jackson using increasingly creative tactics, leaping high, allowing Archneds to follow, then changing direction mid-air, a maneuver the simulation hadn't anticipated. When the last Archned fell, Jackson landed in a crouch, a thin sheen of sweat visible. He looked up and grinned. Now that was fun. The bouncy guys were a nice touch. Vex 9 stared down, a cold feeling spreading through his exoskeleton. Lieutenant Craig, aquatic environment. Maximum difficulty, Commander Draz protested. We haven't even confirmed if humans can. They are semi-aquatic. Vex 9 cut him off. I've studied their physiology. The chamber transformed, filling rapidly with holographic water. Jackson, caught by surprise for the first time, took a deep breath just before being submerged. The water was an illusion, but the chamber's atmospheric controls altered air density and resistance to simulate aquatic conditions. Though Jackson could still breathe normally, introducing opponents, Craig announced. Sleek, predatory forms appeared in the simulated depths. Millennials, Draz identified. A fully aquatic, sentient species. Commander, this is beyond unreasonable. Vex 9 wasn't listening, his attention fixed on the human swimming with powerful strokes, adjusting quickly to the simulated underwater environment. The Millennian holograms converged from all directions, natural underwater predators with swift, precise movements. For a moment, it seemed Jackson would be overwhelmed. Then he stopped swimming and went completely still. The Millennians circled, confused by the sudden change. His eyes tracked their movements, body rotating slowly. What is he doing? Lore wondered aloud. The answer came when Jackson exploded into action. Instead of matching the Millennians' speed, he used their momentum against them, grabbing one as it passed and using it as a shield against another's attack. In the simulated water, his movements were slower but deliberate. He's adapting his combat style to the environment, Craig noted, respect in his voice. Minimizing movement, maximizing efficiency. One by one, the Millennians were dispatched, until Jackson remained, floating in the chamber's center. The water simulation dissolved, leaving him standing on the floor. Clothing and hair appearing dry despite the realistic simulation. Aquatic combat assessment complete, Craig announced. Performance rating, unprecedented. Jackson looked up, his expression no longer playful. Is this a test, or are you trying to prove something, Commander? Vex 9 pressed the communication button. Both human. Tenal, scenario, atmospheric. Combat. The chamber transformed into a vast, open sky. Gravitational controls, simulating freefall. Jackson found himself falling through open air. Aerial predators, incoming. Craig announced as winged shapes appeared in the distance, rapidly approaching. Varric, hunting flock. Draz identified. Commander, this has gone far enough. No humanoid species without natural flight capability could possibly look. Lore interrupted, pointing at the human. Jackson had oriented himself into a spread eagle position, maximizing air resistance to control his fall. As the first Varric reached him, he twisted with startling precision, grabbing its wing and using its momentum to change his trajectory. What followed was an astonishing display of aerial combat for a species without wings. Jackson used the Varrics as anchors, swinging from one to another, redirecting their attacks to collide with each other. Impossible, Vex 9 whispered, genuine awe in his voice for the first time, when the last Varric was defeated. The simulation ended abruptly. Jackson landed lightly on his feet as normal gravity restored. Breathing heavily, but standing tall. Combat assessment complete, Craig announced. All scenarios successful. Final rating, beyond Alliance classification standards. Silence filled the observation room. Finally, Vex 9 spoke. Bring him here. Jackson West entered the observation room, posture relaxed but alert, surveying the aliens with curious eyes, lingering on Vex 9. So, he said casually, did I pass? Vex 9 studied him silently before responding. You exceeded every parameter we established by significant margins. Thanks, I think. It wasn't a compliment, Vex 9 clarified. It was an observation, and a concerning one. Jackson raised an eyebrow. Concerning because I'm good at what I do. Because your species was admitted to the Alliance based on certain assumptions about your capabilities, Vex 9 replied coldly. Assumptions that appear to have been drastically underestimated. Jackson nodded, understanding, dawning. You're afraid of us. The room's temperature seemed to drop. Technician, lore, and biologist, Draz exchanged nervous glances. Lieutenant Craig shifted into a defensive stance. Cuss 9's voice was dangerously quiet. We're not afraid, human. We are cautious. There is a difference. Jackson smiled, not the challenging grin, but something softer, almost sympathetic. With respect, Commander, I've seen that look before. Back on Earth, we had a saying. It's not the strongest species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the one most adaptable to change. Darwin, Draz said suddenly. When the others looked at him, he added, I have studied Earth scientific literature. Charles Darwin, 19th century human biologist. That's right, Jackson nodded. And humans were really good at adapting. He gestured toward the testing chamber. That's what you just saw. Not strength, not intelligence adaptation. Vex 9 considered this. And should the Alliance be concerned about how humans might adapt to interstellar politics, to advanced technologies, to power? Jackson's expression turned serious. That's a fair question, but let me ask you something, Commander. In all those tests, what did I actually do? You survived, Vex 9 answered immediately. Exactly, Jackson said, nodding. I didn't conquer. I didn't destroy. I survived. It's what humans do best. He stepped closer to the commander. Yes, we can endure 3 times our gravity. Yes, we can fight in environments we weren't born to. Yes, we adapt faster than you think we should. Okay. But our greatest achievements didn't come from our ability to fight. Okay. They came from our ability to cooperate. Okay. He looked at each alien. In turn, we didn't join the Alliance to conquer it. We joined because we figured out survival isn't just about being the toughest. It's about being part of something bigger. A long silence followed. Finally, Lieutenant Craig spoke. Commander, I believe Recruit West has demonstrated exceptional potential for the Galactic Alliance Defense Force. I recommend immediate acceptance and accelerated training for specialized deployment. Vex 9's mandibles clicked softly as he considered. Then, to everyone's surprise, he extended a handed, distinctly human gesture. Welcome to the Alliance Defense Force, Specialist West. Jackson took the offered hand and shook it firmly. Thank you, Commander. I promise you won't regret it. That, Vex 9 replied, remains to be seen. But there was a new note in his voice, not quite respect, not quite acceptance, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. As Jackson left, escorted by Lieutenant Craig for official processing, Kaz moved beside Vex 9. What do you think, Commander, about humans in the Alliance? Vex 9 watched the humans' retreating form. I think, Draz, that the galaxy just became a much more interesting place. Outside in the corridor, Jackson West smiled to himself. 3 times Earth gravity had been tough, but he'd managed. And that was just the beginning. The Alliance had no idea what humanity was truly capable of, but they were about to find out. Days later, the gleaming spire of the Galactic Alliance Council Chamber on the central hub world of Nexus Prime, Commander Vex 9 stood before a panel of representatives from the Alliance's core species. The chamber was a vast, domed structure, its walls shimmering with holographic displays of star systems and trade routes. The air hummed with the low buzz of translation devices, ensuring every delegate could understand the proceedings. Vex 9's report on Jackson West's performance had sparked heated debate, and he'd been summoned to provide a first-hand account. The council's presiding officer, a towering Cephalonian named Korath, pulsed with bioluminescent light as she addressed him. Commander Vex 9, your report on the human recruit is ... troubling. You claimed this single individual withstood conditions that would incapacitate most Alliance species. Can you confirm these findings? Vex 9 stood rigid, his exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's lights. I can, Presiding officer, Recruit Jackson West, endured 3 times Earth's standard gravity, a feat unprecedented in our records. His performance in multi-environment combat simulations was equally extraordinary, surpassing all established benchmarks. A murmur rippled through the chamber. A reptilian delegate from the Sword Coalition hissed, "This sounds like a threat, not a recruit." If humans possess such capabilities, what prevents them from challenging Alliance authority? Technician Lore, who had accompanied Vex-9 as a witness, stepped forward hesitantly. "I may, honored delegates, the humans' abilities stem from adaptability, not aggression. Our data suggests their physiology is uniquely suited to rapid environmental adjustment, a trait likely developed through their planet's volatile history." "Adaptability can be a weapon," countered a crystalline delegate from the Quartzine Collective, its voice resonating like struck glass. "If they adapt to our technologies, our strategies, what then? Could they not destabilize the balance we've maintained for millennia?" Draz, standing beside Lore, interjected, his breathing sacs inflating with conviction. "With respect, Honor Delegate, the human Jackson West demonstrated not just physical prowess, but a willingness to cooperate. He spoke of survival through collaboration, not conquest. Their history, while violent, also shows a capacity for unity when faced with common goals." Vex-9 remained silent, his mind replaying Jackson's words. "We joined because we figured. Our survival isn't just about being the toughest. It's about being part of something bigger." He hadn't fully trusted the human then, but the sincerity in his voice lingered, challenging Vex-9's assumptions. Korath pulsed brighter, her bioluminescence signaling contemplation. "Commander, you were initially skeptical of human integration. Has your perspective changed?" Nine's mandibles twitched, a rare sign of hesitation. "I remain cautious, presiding officer. Humans are unpredictable, their potential vast and uncharted. I cannot deny their value to the Alliance. Recruit West's performance suggests humans could strengthen our defense force, particularly in environments where other species falter. Yet, their adaptability demands vigilance. We must monitor their integration closely." The chamber fell silent, the delegates processing the implications. Finally, Korath spoke. "The Council will deliberate further." Of pride. Recruit West is to be fast-tracked for specialized training, as recommended. Commander Vex-9, you will oversee his progress and report any developments that could impact Alliance stability. Vex-9 inclined his head. "Understood, presiding officer." As the session adjourned, Vex-9 exchanged a glance with Draz and Lore. "This is only the beginning," he said, quietly. "If one human can do this, what might 1,000 do? 1,000,000? Draz's eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of agreement. "They are a paradox, Commander, species of survivors, yet driven by a desire to belong. We must learn to trust them, but also to understand them." Lore nodded, her skin regaining its usual hue. "And Jackson West, he's not just a recruit. He's a symbol of what humanity might bring to the Alliance, for better or worse." Vex-9 turned to the viewport, gazing out at the starry expanse beyond Nexus Prime. "For better or worse," he thought. "The galaxy is changing, and humans are at the heart of it." Somewhere out there, Jackson West was preparing for his next challenge. Unaware of the ripples his actions had sent through the Alliance. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity's place in the stars was only just beginning.